Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 207. Without any delay, start explanation. However, Tang Wulin had no intention of dodging as he raised his arms vertically above his head. They suddenly swelled up several times as dragon scales appeared all over the battle armor. His golden dragon claws emerged. Tang Wulin watched as the two Hammer's air cannons arrived before he grabbed them with his hands simultaneously. The crowd could only see that his pair of golden dragon claws suddenly burst out with dazzling light. There was a sparkling golden mist that enshrouded Tang Wulin's body. In the next moment, the pair of air cannon balls were forcefully crushed. Poof, poof. The two air cannon balls dissipated while the powerful force crashed against Tang Wulin, yet he was not even swayed. Yuanen Yehue's pair of hammers came upon him and dropped from above Tang Wulin's head at lightning speed. Tang Wulin's eyes suddenly turned bright. Just as before, he did not dodge, as his pair of golden dragon claws formed into fists. He shouted aloud as he pounded repeatedly with his fists. He was fighting against the twin hammers with his fists. After all, the pair of giant hammers weighed more than 5,000 kilograms. Other than Tang Wulin, Yuanen Yehue was the only one capable of wielding the hammers among the members of Shrek 7 Monsters Squadron. At present, the terror of her immense power in addition to the Diamond Titan's strength could immediately pulverize a yellow mecha without its protective soul shield. Yet Tang Wulin had only relied on his fists to attempt to fight brute strength with brute strength. Even Yuanen Yehue was feeling incredulous. She would never believe that anyone of the same rank could rely on their body alone to block her double hammers by force. She reduced her strength subconsciously due to her trust in Tang Wulin. Boom! A loud boom exploded when the double hammers met the double fists. An intense shockwave exploded with the two fighters' collision point at the center. It was during that split second when everyone felt as if Tang Wulin had already transformed into a lofty mountain. He did not wield any soul skill or blood essence soul skill. Golden light glowed brightly from his entire body as his one-word battle armor unleashed its dazzling array of light. The sparring arena's protective shield underneath Tang Wulin's feet was also bursting with rings of intense light. Did I manage to stop it? The rest of the crowd were staring with wide eyes but also feeling breathless with anxiety on behalf of Tang Wulin. Everyone understood Yuanen Yehue's power very well. She was the entire squadron's #1 assault-type soul master during Tang Wulin's absence and also the main pillar of strength in the squadron. However, they witnessed an unbelievable scene. Yuanen Yehue's double hammers were flung away from the blows of Tang Wulin's fists before she was tossed through the air and fell to the ground. Soon after, she fell back repeatedly and uncontrollably. She fell back continuously for a dozen steps before she sat onto the ground without any control over her body. What? Clang! The double hammers crashed onto the floor. Yuanen Yehue's arms were limp at her sides. Her eyes hidden under her helmet were filled with disbelief. Even though she had reduced her strength slightly during the last moments, but it was still at a level within her control. Yet she felt that she was not fighting against a human but a beast, as she lashed onto Tang Wulin's fists. The terrifying impact of the crash slammed against her like an unstoppable tide. Moreover, she could see that Tang Wulin had obviously pulled his fists back before he struck. This signified that he had not used all his strength. Tang Wulin stood on the same spot without budging. He did not pursue an attack, leaving the rest of the onlookers stunned. In a flash, Xie had already pounced toward Yuanen Yehue. Yi Xinglan's usually calm face could not help widening her mouth. What? Tang Wulin arrived before Yuanen Yehue swiftly as well. Are you all right? Yuanen Yehue had already lost the double hammers in her hands. She gave a forced laugh. I'm fine. I think I've dislocated my arms. Without the battle armor, I'm afraid that I... Dislocated? Big brother, you too ruthless. I'll fight you. Xie pounded twice upon Tang Wulin's battle armor in anger. Tang Wulin spoke apologetically, I'm sorry. I didn't know that would happen. I've reduced my strength quickly when I felt your insufficient strength in the end, but I was too late. Silence. All in the surroundings was absolutely silent. When I felt your insufficient strength. When I felt your insufficient strength. When I felt your insufficient strength. Oh my God. That was the Titan giant ape, along with a pair of giant hammers weighing hundreds of kilograms. That was Yuanen Yehue's air cannon attack. Absolutely no one else was capable of taking such attacks. Yet, his feedback was insufficient strength. What? Yuanen Yehue was staring at Tang Wulin in bewilderment. Tell me the truth. How much strength did you use earlier? Tang Wulin considered before answering, about 50 to 60%. Yuanen Yehue was also rendered speechless. Her body had already shrunk to her usual state, while Xie adjusted her dislocated arms so as to mend them. She spoke in all apparent seriousness, Captain, I think you should go for a test of your strength first. I feel that even long you can't compare to you anymore just judging on your strength alone. How did you become so physically powerful? Tang Wulin gave a forced laugh. It had better be, seeing as how I've been absorbing nourishing energy for the past 3 years. I bet all of you must be wondering where was I when I went missing. The story goes like this. Real dragon skeletons? Burying the skeletons for 3 years? Big brother, you're the champion? Xie looked at Tang Wulin incredulously. Tang Wulin smiled. Seek peace of mind. All of you are aware that my martial soul is the blue-silver grass. In reality, I'm utterly useless without the Golden Dragon King bloodline no matter how hard I work. Thus, I'm grateful for the things the bloodline has given me. It was even helpful in allowing me to absorb more Dragon Clan energy in the Dragon Valley. The Dragon Clan helped me so much, so how could I bear to see their remains scattered all over the wilderness? Only I didn't expect that it would use up so much of my time. I spent every day digging holes and transporting dragon bones. All of this was hard labor, and it was especially difficult for me to rearrange the heavy dragon bones back to their original state. The dragon bones were extremely heavy. It's even heavier than you've imagined because it may have possibly absorbed the Dragon Clan's essence energy in it. I was absorbing a little dragon spirit every day in addition to my continuous hard labor. It's possible that my strength was elevated naturally. I sensed it myself as well, but I didn't expect it to be elevated so much. However, I'm still capable of controlling it. At least it's not affecting my forging process. Xu Xiaoyan spoke, it seems like it's not such a bad thing that your soul power has not elevated. Big brother, the strength of your body is even more terrifying. Your strength has gone so far beyond most soul skills that even Yuanen is incapable of resisting you. With your strength, who else is a worthy opponent? I think you could even compare with a title d'Or. Tang Wulin laughed. That's impossible. A title d'Or's soul power can dominate me easily. However, I think that I should test my strength as well so I can exercise even better control in the future. I think that I wouldn't be that strong without the battle armor. Yuanen, let's try again when you use the Titan giant ape, but I won't don the armor. Tang Wulin's strength undoubtedly shocked everyone. He was so strong it seemed like he could lift the heavens if there was a handle and pull the ground if there was a notch. It was utterly inhuman. The inner court's testing room was equipped with the most advanced technology. The inner court students would need to test their physical states once every 3 months over here, including their accurate soul power cultivation base, strength, speed, spiritual power, reaction speed, etc. It was so precise that the students could fine-tune themselves based on their different situations. When Tang Wulin and his companions arrived at the testing room, someone was already standing there waiting for them. Wu Zhongkong had not changed much since 3 years ago. Time did not manage to leave behind any traces on this cold and arrogant god's face, only that his aura had become even more drawn out. Tang Wulin hastily walked forward a few steps upon seeing him and spoke respectfully, "Teacher Wu, I'm back." Wu Zhongkong walked forward too and gave him an unexpected hug. "At least, you're in a better state than me." Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment. The image of Wu Zhongkong taking him along as they headed to Heaven Do City back at the beginning to witness the situation in the graveyard suddenly arose in his mind. He was slightly distracted. "Teacher Wu." Wu Zhongkong released him. It's good that you're back. There's no need to say anything else. Come, let me bring you for the physical test. Xie smiled as he gathered over and pointed to his nose. There was no doubt it was him who notified Wu Zhongkong. Tang Wulin was in a chaotic state of mind due to GUU since he returned to the academy. He felt slightly better after he had made his peace with giving up his search for GUU for the time being. However, none of the teachers had stopped him from searching for GUU for the past few days. Whether it was Shushi, Feng Wuyu, or even Wu Zhongkong, no one stopped him. He only realized it when he had calmed down and had a clear mind. Teacher Wu, I'm sorry that ever since I returned. Wu Zhongkong shook his head. Perhaps you've yet to understand the inner court situation. Let me explain to you in the simplest way. You're regarded as an adult by the academy upon entering the inner court. You're responsible for your behavior, but at the same time, the academy won't be as restrictive as when you were in the outer court. Other than the periodical examination, the inner court is quite lenient with its students. You can do whatever you wish and no one will stop you. Moreover, your relationship with GUU is recognized by the Sea God Lake Date Festival. The academy will certainly support you and even help you look for her. If there's any information on her, they'll inform you. According to the current information gathered from the search, it's highly possible that GUU is hidden by the Spirit Pagoda. Otherwise, there's no reason why we can't find her. However, the academy has an unusual relationship with the Spirit Pagoda. Unless it's at the request of the Pavilion Master, it would be difficult for us to confirm the matter. The Pavilion Master seems to be rather annoyed with you. Of course, Yunming was infuriated by Tang Wulin. His best disciple was missing because of Tang Wulin. It would be odd indeed if he were not upset. Tang Wulin felt uneasy upon listening to Wu Zhongkong. There was no doubt Wu Zhongkong had been helping to look for GUU all along. Otherwise, he would not have understood the situation so well. Is GUU at the Spirit Pagoda? Could it be the problem between me and her lies in the Spirit Pagoda? It can only be the Spirit Pagoda that is capable of causing fear to the academy. Yes, this must be the reason. At this point, Tang Wulin felt like he had an objective. Despite knowing that the objective was extremely challenging, it was still better than having no objective at all. At least, he had a goal to work hard for. The testing room was exceedingly large. It was larger than he had imagined, where the machines in the room were unusually huge. You're going to be subjected to an overall test to allow us to understand your physical condition so we can tailor your cultivation later, Wu Zhongkong explained to Tang Wulin. Sure. Tang Wulin responded. First, we're going to test your soul power. Wu Zhongkong brought him to the front of an instrument with two spherical objects. Tang Wulin had used such an instrument before, so he hastily stepped forward and held it. Wu Zhongkong switched on the instrument. Soon, the reading appeared. Soul power, rank 47. Rank, Soul Ancestor. Soul power concentration level, level 6. A digital voice echoed. Wu Zhongkong raised his brows unwittingly when he heard the word level 6. He looked at Tang Wulin in astonishment. Soul power concentration level, what's that? Tang Wulin was puzzled. He had never received any information about his soul power's concentration level when he underwent a similar test in the past. Wu Zhongkong explained, when you have achieved a certain level of soul power, the quantity is not important anymore but its quality. The concentration level is its quality. In simple terms, a 9-ring title Dolor's soul power achieved through the consumption of heaven and earth treasures is completely different than the power achieved through cultivating little by little until rank 90. The concentration levels are at least different by 3 levels. The higher the concentration level, the more condensed one's soul power is. Each level corresponds to a rank. Your soul power concentration level is level 6. This signifies that even though you're a 4-ring cultivation base, in reality, your soul power's condensation level is equal to a soul emperor achieved through ordinary cultivation. When these two factors are multiplied together, your actual rank is comparable to a rank 52 Soul King. This was the first time Tang Wulin had ever heard of such a concept. He could not help looking toward his comrades with a quizzical look in his eyes. Xie shrugged. Those who cultivate with mysterious heaven method like us enjoy an advantage at our soul power condensation level. I'm also a level 6, but my cultivation base is actually 5 ring. Everyone should be about the same. Hee hee. I'm a level 7, chubby Shulishi chuckled as he gathered forward. Xie spoke in an unpleasant tone, you're not the same as ordinary people. You can devote yourself entirely to cultivate your soul power and condense it. What do you mean by not the same as ordinary people? Yi Xinglan darted a look at Xie. Xie was flabbergasted for a moment before reacting to the question. He then looked toward Yuan and Yehui by his side. Yuan and Yehui acted as if she had not seen his reaction. Xie coughed once. Not the same as ordinary people, as in you are gifted with unusual natural endowments. Shulishi, am I right? Hee hee. Wu Zhongkong spoke, you can say that Shulishi is gifted with unusual natural endowments. The soul power condensation level's elevation is even more difficult than cultivating one's soul power. It's especially difficult to elevate to the next level after one has achieved level 5. My condensation level is only at level 7 after putting in great effort, despite the fact that I've already attained rank 77 soul power. Come, let's do the next test. Tang Wulin finally understood the importance of soul power condensation level after listening to everyone's explanation. There was no doubt that he still had a lot of room for elevation since he had only attained level 6 with a 4-ring cultivation base. This was very interesting data. Test your spiritual power first. Tang Wulin was seated below a large instrument whereby a helmet was lowered onto his head. Wu Zhongkong spoke, the inner quartz instrument is larger but also extremely safe. Relax your mind and then unleash your spiritual power naturally encircling your head. The instrument will then record it. Tang Wulin closed his eyes because he wished to feel the extent of his spiritual power at present. He had a preliminary estimate that his spiritual power should have broken through to Spirit Abyss when he was in the Dragon Valley. However, there was no way he could confirm his guess without a proper test. After all, the Spirit Sea spiritual power's requirement was only 500 points, while the Spirit Abyss's requirement was at 5,000 points. It was a whole new world once he entered the Spirit Abyss. There were many powerful soul masters whose spiritual powers were still at the Spirit Sea level. To Tang Wulin's knowledge, Teacher Wu could not have achieved this level back when they were heading to Star Luo Empire at the beginning. The machine began operating as the lights were turned on. Each light represented 100 points of spiritual power. The lights turned on at an extremely fast rate, with more than 10 lights being illuminated in an instant. The group of people were hardly surprised. After all, they had figured out that Tang Wulin's spiritual power had achieved Spirit Sea. It was quite normal for him to accumulate 1,000 points of spiritual power after such a long time. In fact, they had all achieved this level of spiritual power. Xu Xiaoyan had the most spiritual power amongst them. She had already achieved a breakthrough to 3,000 points at the upper mid-range of Spirit Sea. As for Ji Yu, she had never participated in any test at the academy. She performed her test at Spirit Pagoda, so no one knew her exact spiritual power. The lights on the instrument continued lighting one after another. Soon, another 10 more lights were illuminated. It was 2,000 points. The group of people began to show their astonishment. After all, Tang Wulin was an assault-type soul master. He was already rather impressive with 2,000 points of spiritual power. His level of spiritual power was enough to sustain him up to the title d'Allure if he were to show some restraint when he chose his spirit soul. Then, it was 3,000 points. The expressions on their faces turned from astonishment to shock when the machine hit 3,000 points. 3,000 points was the high-order level of Spirit Sea. Xu Xiaoyan cried out involuntarily, Big Brother's spiritual power is not going to exceed mine, right? Before her voice died away, she witnessed the 34th light illuminate. Her own spiritual power was only at 3,300. This was... Tang Wulin's spiritual power had exceeded 3,000 points. This was an extremely rare sight among the inner court disciples. Spiritual power was very important to soul masters, more so than soul power. Thus, it was rare for a soul master to cultivate his spiritual power unless it was for the purpose of fusing with an even higher order spirit soul. It was 4,000 points. Shocked. Everyone was shocked. 4,000 points signified the peak of the spirit abyss realm. One would then have the opportunity to strike above the spirit abyss realm in the future. What was the spirit abyss? When one entered the spirit abyss realm, one spirit would act like an abyssal prison. If the spirit was the world, then the upper boundary would be heaven while the lower boundary would be hell. Should one have such a potent spiritual power, one would also possess a legendary spirit soul that acted as the foundation. One could fuse with a spirit soul of any level in this realm, even orange spirit souls and red spirit souls could be fused together. If one fused with an orange or red spirit soul, then one's power would only be at the spirit sea realm. However, if one did not have an orange or red spirit soul, it was possible to fuse with a maximum of 5 spirit souls of any color. Normally, the spirit abyss realm was considered the limit for humans. Nonetheless, the lights continued to be illuminated. Moreover, the lights were illuminated in an incessant manner. This signified that Tang Wulin had yet to achieve his limit. Beep. All of a sudden, the machine beeped once. Soon after, the lights that were illuminated extinguished simultaneously to everyone's surprise. Just as everyone thought that Tang Wulin's test had ended, purple light illuminated at the side. Spirit abyss. The words escaped Wu Xiangkong's mouth as his face was filled with shock. His own spiritual power had yet to break through to the spirit abyss. What was the spirit abyss? It was akin to a sonic barrier. The realm above the spirit abyss was a wholly different level that transcended the realm below it. Tang Wulin's cultivation base had already broken through to the spirit abyss without his knowledge. This was simply unbelievable. Yellow lights were illuminated in succession. The test was continuing, let alone ended. They were no longer in shock but numbed by what they were witnessing. A rank 47 soul ancestor with his spiritual power cultivation base at spirit abyss. Even a spirit-type soul master's spiritual power may not necessarily achieve such a level. They had guessed that GUU's spiritual power would have achieved the spirit abyss. Yet, it was never proven. As GUU's martial soul was elemental control, she required an extremely high amount of spiritual power. Yet, Tang Wulin was an assault-type soul master. At most, he could be considered a control-type soul master. How could his spiritual power achieve such a high level? Everyone was cultivating the purple demon eyes similarly. Why was there such a large disparity? 6,000 points. 7,000 points. The lights continued to be illuminated without any sign of pausing. Tang Wulin's spiritual power was already doubled that of Xu Xiaoyuan's. Even Wu Zhongkong was stunned. He had never witnessed such a situation in the academy. It would certainly be as rare as phoenix feathers or a unicorn's horn for anyone to exceed Tang Wulin's spiritual power cultivation base. To Wu Zhongkong's knowledge, the person with the strongest spiritual power cultivation base in the entire academy was the current generation Sea God Pavilion Master, the ultimate limit Doluo Atlas Doluo Yunming. Elder Yun's spiritual power had already achieved the legendary divine origin, but he was also the only divine origin in Shrek Academy. Even the light dark Doluo's spiritual power cultivation base was still in the spirit domain realm with the exception of Elder Yun. The spirit domain and spirit abyss differed only by one step. 20,000 points of spiritual power was the spirit domain's threshold. Tang Wulin's spiritual power had exceeded 7,000 points by now, and he was only 18 years old. This signified that he could certainly access the spirit domain realm in the future. Wu Zhongkong also knew that spiritual power was not so important during the preliminary cultivation of a soul master who did not possess a strong spirit-type martial soul. However, it would be a determining factor during the title Doluo stage. One's spiritual power must be strong in order to develop further during the title Doluo stage. The stronger one's spiritual power was, the higher the possibility for one to be elevated. A limit Doluo would require the divine origin spiritual cultivation base. This was the critical factor that caused many hyper-Doluos to be stuck in their cultivation. Lai Dark Dolul did not manage to achieve that stage precisely because her spiritual power could not break through the bottleneck of the divine origin realm. The number of people possessing the divine origin spiritual cultivation base in the world today could be counted with just the 5 fingers of a hand. The God King realm spiritual power that was one realm higher existed during the divine realm era but had now ceased to exist. It was said that one spiritual power could never achieve that realm unless one became a god. The rate at which the lights were being illuminated had finally begun to slow down. The test was nearing its final stage. The light finally stopped at the 28th position. 1 purple light and 28 yellow lights. 7,800 points of spiritual power. Everyone had a parched sensation in their throats. 7,800 points. There were 7,800 points in total. They were all well aware of what 7,800 points of spiritual power meant. It was the Spirit Abyss realm. He had more than just entered the Spirit Abyss realm. In fact, he was not that far away from the midterm of the Spirit Abyss realm. Tang Wulin could not hear anything since he was wearing the helmet. He removed the helmet after being prompted by the beep. He looked at his comrades with stunned expressions as, one by one, they each stared at him. Feeling puzzled, he could not help asking, "What's going on with all of you?" 7,800 points. Xie gestured with his hands at Tang Wulin. His left hand gestured the number 7 while his right hand showed 8. Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment before he said, Oh, that's all? Aren't you surprised, big brother? Your spiritual power has achieved a total of 7,800 points. You're in the Spirit Abyss realm. Xie spoke excitedly. Tang Wulin spoke, Guu has already achieved the Spirit Abyss realm since earlier. This is nothing. They were all speechless. Wu Zhongkong looked at him with a burning gaze. So you know that you've broken through to this realm earlier? Tang Wulin nodded. I seemed to feel it when I broke through. It was as if the entire world became crystal clear. Furthermore, my perception was elevated tremendously. It was like I had walked through a door into another world. Wu Zhongkong was stunned for a moment. He nodded toward Tang Wulin after a long while. Thank you. There was no doubt that Tang Wulin's description of his experience was extremely helpful to Wu Zhongkong. Tang Wulin asked, So, what's next? Strength test it is, Wu Zhongkong answered. Even though he was expressionless, the fluctuation of his gaze revealed that he was not as calm as he appeared at the moment. The strength tester's size exceeded Tang Wulin's expectation. It appeared like a hill with over 30 impact points on its surface which were of different sizes and shapes. Wu Zhongkong explained, the strength test is a comprehensive test so it's capable testing with extreme accuracy. For example, you can test the strength of your palm or fist, the charging impact of your shoulder, and also your battle armor and weapon strength. I suggest that you carry out the punch strength test first, then test again with your battle armor on. Tang Wulin was raised by Wu Zhongkong all along. No one understood Tang Wulin's abilities more than he did. Sure, Tang Wulin responded. The observers fell back a few steps instinctively. Everyone was more curious of Tang Wulin's strength than his spiritual power. Tang Wulin even regarded Yuanen and Yehue's powerful strength as mild. So, how powerful was his strength actually? The punch target appeared. Tang Wulin moved his body as he began to warm up with blood essence power surging in his body. His eyes began to exude a faint golden radiance. Begin. Tang Wulin's body spun half a circle following Wu Zhongkong's shout. He then threw a punch at lightning speed. Right hook. Boom, the entire target shook violently once, then the hill-like equipment shook violently for a few times before it was stable once again. Strength of right hook punch, 104,000 kilograms. The electronic voice announced the result. Even Tang Wulin was stunned. 104,000 kilograms? What kind of metric calculation was that? 1,000 kilograms equals 1 ton. 104,000 kilograms mean that my punch exerts a force of 104 tons. The entire scene was silent, Wu Zhongkong included. Tang Wulin looked down at his right hand, Then he turned around and bashfully said to his companions, "It's explosive force, it's explosive force." It was then only then that Wu Zhongkong responded to the situation. The standard strength of a black mecha's strike at full power is 35,000 kilograms. It can only pass as a black mecha when it achieves this standard. The strength of a red mecha cannot be tested for specific reasons. In other words, the strength of Tang Wulin's right fist had already exceeded a black mecha's by threefold. Big brother, you're simply a beast in human form. Now I see that you were being merciful with Yuanen earlier. Yes, there was no way more suitable to describe Tang Wulin than a beast in human form. Don't forget that he had to yet don his battle armor or even use any strength-amplifying soul skill, such as the Golden Dragon body. Alright, there's no need to continue the test anymore. Wu Zhongkong waved his hand. Tang Wulin asked in confusion, "Why, Teacher Wu?" An extremely worrisome expression appeared on Wu Zhongkong's face. He spoke in an unpleasant tone, "The instrument's endurance limit is 200,000 kilograms. I'm worried that you'll exceed the strength limit once you've donned the battle armor at full force. Nevertheless, I must also give you a suggestion. You need to elevate your soul power as soon as possible and also elevate your battle armor's level too. Otherwise, your one-word battle armor is incapable of withstanding your current strength. It's highly possible that your battle armor will be damaged if you were to meet with an extremely violent collision. Tang Wulin's battle armor might not withstand his strength." Yuanen Yehue gave a forced laugh and spoke, "I thought that I'd already outdone you. It seems like the disparity is getting greater." Strength was not a fantastic ability for a soul master. After all, the limitation of pure strength is very high. Even so, any type of ability that had achieved a certain level of perfection could not be evaluated using conventional methods anymore. Wu Zhongkong revealed more info about another statistic. When a strength-type title de luo breaks through to rank 90, a punching strength of 100,000 kilograms is the foundation. Generally, only a strength-type 3-word battle armor master is capable of achieving this strength level. "Wulin, are you genuinely a human?" That the usual icy-cold Teacher Wu suddenly spoke like this made Tang Wulin feel a little awkward, but he could not help staring at his hands. Was he still considered a human being after absorbing the Golden Dragon King Seal's energy? Whatever the case, this had also proven that Tang Wulin's strength had become incredible. Even as Shrek Academy's teacher, Wu Zhongkong was feeling astonished by Tang Wulin. Wu Zhongkong looked at Tang Wulin with a hint of gentleness in his eyes. "All of you have grown. There's not much else that I can teach you anymore. You'll receive even more guidance from the Academy's title de luo powerhouses in the future." Tang Wulin was concerned in his heart. "Teacher Wu." Wu Zhongkong waved his hand. "You, Gu, Xiaoyan and Xie were raised by me all the way from East Sea City. I'm proud to witness all of your achievements today. I've already resigned from my position as a teacher from the Academy temporarily. I'll begin my closed-door cultivation soon. This time, I'll be engaging in closed-door cultivation for no less than a year." At this point, he suddenly paused for a moment as his gaze swept past every single one of them. "It was all of you that brought me hope and reignited my willpower to develop further once again. Wulin, there's no need to worry too much about Guu. Guu's abilities are strong enough. I think that the barrier between you and her is mainly derived from the competitive relationship between the Spirit Pagoda and the Tang sect. If you truly loved her, then put all your effort into making yourself more powerful. Power is always the foundation for everything else in this world. When you're powerful enough, every impossibility will become possible. I'm overjoyed that I haven't seen you get dispirited or give up. Your greatest advantage is that your courage mounts as the battle progresses so that you never flinch from difficulty. This will also be the root of your success. For Guu, yourself and also your companions, work hard and go forward." "Yes, I'll certainly do that." Tang Wulin clenched his fists tightly as he answered in a sonorous and forceful manner. The test proceeded smoothly afterward. Tang Wulin produced extremely shocking data in every test that was related to his body. The durability of his skin was enough to be on par with a defense-type soul beast of over 1,000 years. It was astonishing. Judging by his overall data, he truly was less like a human and more like a monster with a human appearance. All right. That's all for the tests. I'll hand over this set of data immediately to the Sea God Pavilion. You've just returned to the inner court. I believe that the Sea God Pavilion will appoint a tutor for you straight away. In my opinion, your grand teacher is the most likely to be appointed. You've learned from him beforehand after all. You should pay a visit to the Spirit Pagoda now to name your battle armor. The naming of one-word battle armor. This was absolutely every Soul Master's most yearned for event. A complete set of one-word battle armor was required to do so. One was only allowed to name the one-word battle armor with a single word, but every Soul Master anticipated the naming even if it was only one word. This was because this was evidence of their power and also unparalleled pride. Tang Wulin looked toward his companions subconsciously and found that everyone was looking back at him too. Xie laughed and spoke, "Big brother, we've always known that you'd return. That's why we've not put much effort into our two-word battle armors all this time despite already owning complete sets of one-word battle armors for some time. You must help us to begin our forging soon. That way, we can have an overall elevation of our battle armors." The group of them laughed in unison. Yuanen Yehue spoke, "You're the only blacksmith we trust, since only you understand the requirements for our battle armor metal the most." Tang Wulin asked, "Have all of you named your battle armors?" Yuanen Yehue nodded. Generally, one-word battle armor's name is related to one's martial soul, or perhaps you can say the first two words of the name are related to one's martial soul. Xie sniggered. He spoke, "When you have a higher word count then you can use words related to your lover." Yuanen, which part of your name should I use when my battle armor's rank is higher in the future? Yuanen Yehue's charming face blushed. As you please. Xie sniggered. Then I'll need to give it some thought. Tang Wulin was slightly distracted by his battle armor's name. He suddenly recalled Wu Zhangkong's battle armor named Sky Ice. His two-word battle armor was named Sky Ice. Wu Zhangkong's Sky Ice. The word sky was derived from his martial soul Skyfrost sword and ice from his lover Long Bing One's name. What a waste that he could only use one word to name his battle armor now, so he did not have much choice on that. He could wait until he was permitted 2 words. Then I shall go over to register myself now, Tang Wulin announced. Everyone left for their own cultivation as they walked out of the academy. Tang Wulin exited Shrek Academy's inner court alone and boarded a taxi as he headed straight for Spirit Pagoda headquarters. The Spirit Pagoda was considered an absolute colossus for a soul master like him. Lofty sentiments suddenly surged in Tang Wulin's heart as he could see the colossal pagoda-shaped building from afar. If there was a day when he had to fight the entire Spirit Pagoda organization for GUU, what would he do? As long as he was powerful enough, nothing was impossible. GUU, wait for me. I'll certainly become more powerful for you. Not only myself, but I'll make sure that I wield powerful influence. I'll stand by your side when you need me one day. I'll even seize you if I have to. He walked into the Spirit Pagoda. Even though this was not his first time going there, he was still awed by the place like always. A member of staff stepped forward to greet him. Hello. How can I help you? Tang Wulin answered, I would like to register a name for my battle armor. A sense of surprise flashed past the man's eyes. He sized Tang Wulin up. Are you from Shrek Academy? Tang Wulin nodded. The expression on his face immediately became respectful. Please follow me. Tang Wulin followed him to a rather spacious elevator. The exterior was encased in glass, so he could see the scenery outside. Soon, the car rose upward swiftly as the ground rapidly shrank in his visual field. It felt like he was suddenly flying upward. Ding! The elevator stopped when the number displayed on the screen was 101. Welcome to Spirit Pagoda's level 101, Sky Dragon's Roar. He made a hand gesture for him to go ahead. He walked out of the elevator as another staff member immediately stepped forward to welcome him. This one was a different person from the previous staff dressed in ordinary attire. The staff member before his eyes was a young maiden with a charming appearance. She was dressed in a long, white lacy dress with a faint dragon pattern. She was elegant and would have been about 20 years old. Her eyes brightened as well when she saw Tang Wulin. What a handsome young man he was. She was well aware of the reason someone would be brought to level 101. She saluted Tang Wulin respectfully before gesturing for him to come in. "Our respected battle armor master, please follow me." In his heart, Tang Wulin was feeling somewhat touched. The treatment given to a battle armor master was indeed something else. His teacher had been right about how power was everything in the Soul Master's world. He began to size up the so-called level 101 Sky Dragon's roar at the same time. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.